The video you're watching right now is George Floyd when he's initially stopped. We've got it in slow motion. Watch as we zoom in closer and closer to George Floyd and take a look at what is on his tongue. A little white spot. A little white spot on George Floyd's tongue. According to the defense, this may be the most important piece of evidence in the entire case. Let me explain. One of the attorneys for one of the former officers accused in the murder of George Floyd, the attorney for Thomas Lane, has filed papers and says that little white spot on George Floyd's tongue is fentanyl. Fentanyl, which he ingested at the time he was approached by police. He says that little white spot is on his tongue. In this part of the video, he turns his head and it's gone. But take a look at it. The defense is saying this is 2 milligrams of fentanyl. And it is the fentanyl that is responsible for the death of George Floyd. Fentanyl. Not a knee on the neck. A white spot on his tongue. Basically, they've taken a look at the toxicology in his system, methamphetamine, we know that, but also fentanyl found in the system of George Floyd. The defense is arguing that this is an overdose case. This is not what we all saw in the video. This is not a man being subdued by 3 officers. This is not a man with a knee on his neck. This is not a man who cannot breathe because of what is happening to him as a result of the police restraint. They are saying this is someone who overdosed on a drug that he ingested himself. The little white spot, they say, 2 milligrams of fentanyl. So the question is going to be whether or not this is his cause of death or not. But let me explain something about how it works in a criminal trial, because the defense does not have to prove that this is the cause of death beyond any and all reasonable doubt. They just have to prove that this is a potentially reasonable explanation for the death of George Floyd. Are you following me? It's all about burden of proof. Prosecutors have to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. So they've got to prove to the jury that beyond a reasonable doubt, it was the police action, the police restraint, the knee on the neck that killed George Floyd. The defense just has to raise a reasonable alternative explanation. Are you following? It's much different. If you're looking on a scale, or if you want to put a number on it, prosecutors have to prove this to the 90%, 95%, 98%, whatever someone's individual juror's belief of reasonable doubt or beyond a reasonable doubt is. And all the defense has to do, and this is the same in every trial, is to say, okay, prosecutors have their theory. Here's what we say happened. And if it's reasonable, what they are saying, that's reasonable doubt. So my question to you is this a reasonable explanation for the death of George Floyd? The fentanyl that was in his system in the toxicology, plus the added evidence of this white dot on his tongue? Is that reasonable doubt? Is that a reasonable explanation for the death of George Floyd? That's going to happen during the trial. And I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen is each one of these defendants will hire an expert to come into court and explain how George Floyd died. And I'll bet my bottom dollar that they're all going to be talking about the white dot on his tongue. They're going to be talking about the fentanyl in his system. And these are going to be experts who are as qualified as the state expert, who's going to focus on what the police did to George Floyd that day. So my 13th juror question for you tonight on my program. Is fentanyl a reasonable explanation for the death of George Floyd based upon the evidence that you have heard? Or is it unreasonable? And is the only explanation what police did to George Floyd? Let me know what you think. This is not an easy one. I've been saying it from the beginning, not an easy case. This is not an easy question. But put your answer in the comments below. We're going to talk about it on the program tonight from 8 to 11. 8 to 11 on Court TV. We will be talking about this and many other cases. We do it every night. Once again, take a look at the little white dot on George Floyd's tongue. Is it the little white dot on his tongue, or is it the knee on his neck? And remember, the knee on the neck, beyond a reasonable doubt. Let me know what you think. I'm Vinnie Politan. I'll see you tonight at 8 o'clock.